Every morning you wake up believing you have more time to start, more time to change, more time to chase the goals you've been postponing for months, maybe years. And that illusion is exactly what keeps people trapped. The days feel long, so they move slowly. They delay hard decisions. They wait for motivation. They convince themselves they'll become disciplined someday. But time is doing what it always does, moving forward without permission, without mercy, without stopping for anyone. Stoicism teaches a brutal truth. Your life is not being measured in years, but in moments wasted or used. One day, the opportunities you keep postponing will disappear forever. The question is not whether time is running out. It is. The question is whether you're going to act like it before it's too late. There's a version of your life that existed, a version where you made the call, took the risk, started the work, had the conversation, built the discipline. That version didn't require a perfect moment. It required a decision, and every single day you didn't make that decision, that version of your life moved further away from you, not dramatically, not with a loud crash, but silently. The way a candle burns down, you don't notice it until the wax is almost gone. Most people don't lose their lives to tragedy. They lose them to delay. They lose them to the ordinary Tuesday afternoons where nothing urgent happened, so nothing important got done. They lose them to the years that passed while they were waiting to feel ready. Nobody talks about this kind of loss because it doesn't look like loss from the outside. But you feel it. You feel it when you scroll through your phone at midnight and ask yourself why you still haven't started. You feel it when someone else achieves what you always told yourself you'd do. You feel it in that quiet, uncomfortable space between who you are and who you know you're supposed to be. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds in history, didn't sugarcoat this. He said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." He wasn't talking about the hours you sleep. He was talking about the hours you're fully awake, fully capable, fully aware, and still choosing comfort over progress, distraction over depth, familiar over necessary. He was talking about the life happening right now, in this moment, while you're still deciding whether you're ready to live it fully. You are not a person who lacks potential. You are a person who keeps borrowing from your future to pay for your present comfort. And that debt accumulates. Every postponed decision, every avoided discomfort, every dream you silenced because the timing didn't feel right. It stacks. And one day, not in some distant future, but one very real, very ordinary day, you will look back and realize the time you thought you had. You already spent it standing still. This is not a video about regret. This is a video about the seconds you still have left. Use them. Drop in the comments. I choose now. Now let's dive in. Point 1. You are not waiting for the right time. You are afraid of the wrong outcome. Nobody actually waits for the right time. That's the story people tell themselves because it sounds responsible, it sounds patient, it sounds like wisdom. But underneath that story, if you're honest, completely uncomfortably honest, what you're really doing is avoiding the possibility of failure. You're not waiting for the calendar to align or the circumstances to improve. You're waiting for a guarantee that doesn't exist. And because that guarantee never comes, the waiting never ends. This is one of the most deeply human patterns that exists. Psychologists call it anticipatory anxiety, the suffering that happens not from what is actually occurring, but from what your mind imagines could go wrong. You picture starting the business and losing everything. You picture pursuing the relationship and being rejected. You picture going all in on your goals and still not being enough. So instead of facing that imagined pain, you stay where you are. You stay in the job that's slowly suffocating you. You stay in the routine that produces nothing. You stay in the comfortable misery that at least feels familiar. But here's what that waiting is actually costing you. Every day you don't move, your fear grows more confident. Fear is not something that shrinks when you feed it comfort. It expands, it gets louder, it starts to feel like logic. It starts to dress itself up as caution, as practicality, as being realistic. And before long, you can't even tell the difference between a reasonable decision and a fear-driven one. They start sounding identical inside your head. Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery, who owned nothing, who had every reason to believe life had already decided his fate, said this: "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." He wasn't speaking philosophically from a distance. He was speaking from a life where circumstances were genuinely brutal. And still, his conclusion was this: the prison is never outside you. It is always the story you're telling about what's possible. The right time is a myth constructed by a mind that is terrified of being judged. Start with the fear present. Move with the doubt still in the room. That is not recklessness. That is the only kind of courage that has ever actually existed. Point 2. The life you keep imagining is being lived by the version of you that didn't wait. There is a version of you that exists in a parallel track of decisions, not a fantasy, not a delusion, a real, achievable version built from the same raw material you already have, the same intelligence, the same background, the same 24 hours, but shaped by different choices. That version woke up and did the work when they didn't want to. That version had the hard conversation instead of avoiding it. That version failed publicly, recovered privately, and kept moving anyway. And right now, while you're reading this, that version of you is living the life you keep describing as your dream. This isn't meant to shame you. It's meant to wake something up inside you that has been quietly grieving. Because on some level, you already know this. You feel it when you catch yourself fantasizing about a different life and then immediately telling yourself why it's not realistic. You feel it when you see someone else succeed in the exact area you gave up on, and your first feeling isn't happiness for them. It's a sharp, aching recognition. That recognition is not jealousy. That is your soul pointing at evidence of what was always possible. The Stoics had a concept called memento mori, remember that you will die, not as a morbid obsession, but as a clarifying force. When you hold your own mortality with honesty, the trivial reasons you've been postponing your life start to dissolve. The fear of what people will think becomes smaller. The comfort of staying average loses its appeal. What remains is the urgency of a person who finally understands that this specific window, this age, this health, this moment in history, this particular set of circumstances will not come again. You will not get a second run at your 30s. You will not get a second chance at the years when your energy was high and your potential was untouched. The window for certain dreams is not permanently open. Some of them close, not because life is cruel, but because time is simply honest in a way that people refuse to be with themselves. Stop watching your own life from the audience. You were never meant to sit and observe. You were built to be in the center of it, fully present, fully committed, fully alive. The version of you that's waiting for permission died waiting. Point 3. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a decision you make when everything inside you says don't. People talk about discipline like it's something you either have or you don't. Like some people were born with this internal engine that pushes them forward without resistance, and others simply weren't built that way. And that belief, that comfortable, convenient belief, is the reason most people never build anything real. Because if discipline is a personality trait, then you're off the hook. You didn't fail. You were just assembled differently. But that's not what discipline is. Not even close. Discipline is what happens in the specific moment when your alarm goes off and your body wants to stay horizontal. when you've had a long day and the work is still unfinished, when you've already failed 3 times at the same goal and your mind is constructing perfectly reasonable arguments for why this time won't be different either. Discipline is not the absence of that resistance. It is the decision you make while that resistance is at full volume. It is movement in the presence of every reason to stay still. Most people are waiting to feel motivated before they act. But motivation follows action. It almost never precedes it. You don't feel like starting and then start. You start, and somewhere in the middle of doing the thing, the feeling catches up. This is not a productivity tip. This is a fundamental truth about human psychology that nobody teaches you because it sounds too unglamorous. The feeling comes after the work, not before, never reliably before. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while writing private notes to himself about how difficult it was to get out of bed in the morning. The most powerful man in the known world struggled with the same internal resistance you feel. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being, not as an emperor, not as a philosopher. As a human being doing what human beings are supposed to do, show up, engage, contribute, build." He didn't wait to feel inspired. He reminded himself of his duty and moved. Your feelings are not your commander. They are passengers. You are the one driving, and the destination doesn't change based on whether the passengers are comfortable during the journey. Point 4. The people you admire most did not have better circumstances. They had a different relationship with discomfort. You've spent time admiring people from a distance and quietly telling yourself that they had something you don't. Better connections, better starting conditions, more talent, more luck, a family that supported them, a city that gave them opportunities. And sometimes, some of that is partially true. Circumstances are not equal, and pretending otherwise is its own kind of dishonesty. But when you study the lives of people who built something genuinely remarkable, not the curated highlight reel, but the actual story, what separates them is almost never resources. It is their relationship with discomfort. They got uncomfortable and stayed anyway. They failed in front of people and came back the next day. They went through stretches of months, sometimes years, where nothing was working, where the progress was invisible, where every rational signal said stop, and they treated that discomfort not as a sign that they were on the wrong path, but as confirmation that they were on the right one, because anything worth building will feel impossible before it feels inevitable. That is not motivational language. That is the documented pattern of almost every meaningful achievement in human history. The Stoic philosophy of amor fati, love of fate, is not about passively accepting whatever life gives you. It is about taking everything that comes, including the suffering, including the failure, including the years that didn't go as planned, and using it as material, not carrying it as damage, using it as fuel. The person who learns to do this becomes genuinely unstoppable. Not because life gets easier for them, but because difficulty stops being a reason to quit. Look at your own life right now. The things that broke you, the losses, the rejections, the moments where you felt like the ground disappeared beneath you. Those things didn't just hurt you. They taught you something that comfort never could have. They showed you what you're made of underneath the normal functioning of daily life. You survived every single thing that felt unsurvivable. That is not a small thing. That is evidence of a capacity you keep underestimating. Stop looking at other people's results and comparing them to your starting point. Start looking at how they moved through the hard parts, then move through yours. The discomfort is not the obstacle. For the people you admire most, the discomfort was always the path. Point 5. You will regret the chances you didn't take far more than the ones you took and lost. There is a specific kind of pain that doesn't arrive immediately. It doesn't show up when you make the safe choice, when you back away from the risk, when you talk yourself out of the thing that terrified you. It arrives years later, quietly, in the middle of an ordinary afternoon when nothing particular is happening and your mind drifts back to a door you chose not to walk through, a conversation you never had, a dream you retired before you ever truly tested it. A moment where everything was aligned and you blinked and let it pass because you were afraid of what would happen if you tried and it didn't work. Psychologists who study human regret have found something that cuts against everything we assume about risk and loss. People do not regret their failures most deeply. They regret their inactions. The things they never attempted haunt them far more persistently than the things they attempted and lost. Because failure, at least, gives you an answer. Failure closes a chapter. But inaction leaves every question permanently open. It leaves you living inside a sentence that never ends. What if I had? That unfinished sentence is one of the heaviest things a human being can carry. And the weight of it doesn't decrease with time. It compounds. Because as the years pass, the distance between who you became and who you could have become grows wider, and the window for certain choices narrows and eventually closes. Not metaphorically, literally. The specific version of your life that was available at 25 is not available at 40. The opportunities that existed in a particular season of your health, your energy, your circumstances, some of them were time-sensitive in ways you didn't fully appreciate until they were gone. Seneca wrote something that deserves to be read slowly. Omnia lucili aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est. Everything is foreign to us, Lucilius. Only time is truly ours. He wrote this to a friend, urgently, as though the letter itself was running out of time. Because Seneca understood something that most people only understand in retrospect. Time is the only currency you spend without ever feeling it leave your hands. You don't feel the Tuesday disappearing. You don't feel the year ending. You feel it only when you look back and realize how much of it went toward nothing that mattered to you. You still have time right now. Not infinite time. Not the luxury of another decade of preparation. But real, usable, meaningful time. Today, this week, this season of your life. The question is not whether the opportunity exists. It does. The question is whether you will look back at this specific moment, this video, this feeling you're feeling right now in your chest, and remember it as the day something shifted, or whether you will close this and return to the exact same patterns and feel this same ache again 6 months from now, sitting in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. The chance you don't take doesn't disappear quietly. It follows you. Take the chance. Lose if you must. But take it. Every point in this video circles back to the same singular truth. You already know what you need to do. This is not new information. Deep inside, beneath the noise of daily distraction, beneath the comfort of familiar routines, beneath every excuse that sounds reasonable on the surface, you have always known. You've known which relationship needs a decision. You've known which work has been left undone. You've known which version of yourself you've been abandoning every morning when you choose familiar over necessary. Stoicism does not ask you to be perfect. It does not demand that you transform overnight, or that you suddenly stop feeling fear or resistance or doubt. What it asks is far simpler and far more demanding at the same time. It asks you to be honest. Honest about how much time has already passed. Honest about what you've been doing with the hours you were given. Honest about whether the life you're living right now reflects the person you actually want to become. Marcus Aurelius wrote something in his final years that stays with you long after you read it. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Not tomorrow. Not when the circumstances improve. Not when you feel ready. Now. With everything unresolved. With the fear still present. With the outcome still uncertain. You are running out of time. Not as a threat. Not as punishment. As the most honest, most clarifying, most liberating truth you will ever accept about your life. Because the moment you truly accept it, not intellectually but in your bones, everything that felt complicated becomes simple. Every excuse loses its power. Every delay becomes unacceptable. The life you want is waiting, but it will not wait forever. Start. Now. Today. Drop in the comments. My time starts now.